I wonder how many ways are there to find x in this triangle problem. I found 2. If you can find 3 or 4, let me know in the comments below, won't you? We've got some clues. We've got our area. We've got the length of one side and we have an angle. So let's work through the 2 that I found. The first I think I'm going to go for, method 1, is area of a triangle. Half base times height. Now you may be thinking, we haven't got the height, but we've got the base here. The height will be from here straight down. So it's going to be perpendicular from the base to that vertice there. And then we have the area. With the equation, we're just missing one variable, which is the height. And therefore we can solve this equation. So let's pop our values in. 27.7 for the area equals a half times the base, which is 10, multiplied by the height. And then that gives us 27.7 equals a half of 10. So a half multiplied by 10 is 5, multiplied by the height, and then we can just divide by 5 there. And I think that will be quite a nice number. The 27.7 divided by 5. That's 277 over 50. The decimal's quite nice, it's 5.54, so we use that. Height equals 5.54 centimetres. And if we draw that in, and we know now we've got a right angled triangle, so that means that's 90 degrees. You might call it a right triangle if you're anywhere else in the world. There's our 90 degrees, that little box there. And then what do we have? Well, we've got our long straight side there, that is our hypotenuse. So it looks like a bit of trigonometry here. Let's write 5.54 for our height. And I'm quite tempted to actually redraw this triangle because it's a little bit busy there. It will help you see it a lot clearer. There it is. I haven't done it 100% accurate, but that's enough for what we need. So we need to find x. And as we have this angle and this side, we can go ahead and use some trigonometry. The first thing I do with trigonometry is always go ahead and label my triangle. So this is going to be my hypotenuse. And as my angle is here, this length here is going to be the adjacent. That's the side that's next to the angle. That's ADJ. And then over here, because that's the side opposite the angle, that's our opposite. Trigonometry, there's the mnemonic SOHCAHTOA, which SOHCAHTOA. If this is unfamiliar to you, I do have another video on trigonometry and I will link it at the end. But from this, if you remember your SOHCAHTOA, you can identify which trigonometry formula you're going to use. So the first one, sine of the angle will be equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Second one, the cosine of the angle would be equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And last, the tan of the angle would be equal to opposite over adjacent. So what do we have on our triangle? Well, I always like to go ahead and cross out what I don't need. I'm looking for the hypotenuse. I have the opposite side. I don't need the adjacent. If I was doing this in an exam, I'd do this. I'd probably just do that, just so it's out of my way, so it doesn't distract me. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use sin, and you write it out in full just in case there's a mark in the exam. If you're doing this for a GCSE or even A-level in the UK, always write out for marks, you know, the method marks. So you'd write sin. We have our angle down here, 47 degrees. So sin 47 equals, and O is for opposite. So that's 5.54, and h is our hypotenuse, which is x, which is what we want. Fabulous. 5.54 divided by, now you could write h for hypotenuse if you want to, but why don't we just go ahead and write x, because that's what we're looking for. And now we need to rearrange this. Be careful of this one. You'll see it's a two-step process. You've got to multiply by x to bring x up here, and then we've got to divide by sin 47. So we multiply by the x, and you'll notice actually I use multiplication sign quite a lot. My x's are very different, and we don't usually use a central dot in the UK. So yeah, you will see me use the multiplication sign more. Those of you watching in the UK, any GCSE students, you're probably scratching your head. The US, a lot of Europe, instead of writing 3, times 5, the rest of the world will go 3 central dot 5. And that means multiply. You see a lot of it on YouTube videos. It's quite a big difference. Actually, let me know if you're anywhere in the world that you do tend to use the multiplication sign. I think the big difference is with algebra, isn't it? So for me, if I go x multiplied by x, you can see the difference. But I know a lot of people don't do algebra x's like this. So obviously, if you were to go x times x, it just looks like you're giving 3 kisses, doesn't it? So that situation, that's why it seems to be more popular, the central dot. Anyway, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Okay, back to the question. The sine of 47 degrees, x equal to 5.54, and then x will be equal to, so we're going to divide by sine 47, both sides, and that will eliminate it from the left, and we'll be left with x equal to 5.54 all over sine 47. We'll pop that in the calculator. Close your brackets. My big one for always making sure you use brackets whenever you're putting anything in a calculator. You never know how it's going to behave. There's another one, brackets. We don't use parentheses in England, so that's quite a big difference. Like, we don't have PEDMAS, we have BODMAS. I must do a video on all the differences actually between English and American maths terminology. Let me know in the comments if you know any interesting ones. Okay, what do we have here? So that gave us 7.574. I think we'll do 2 decimal places. That would be enough. X equals 7.57 centimetres. Not forgetting centimetres because we have found the length of a side. Okay, so that's one method. Let's have a look at a second method. And this one, method 2, I'm still going to take advantage of the area. But I'm going to use the formula for area of a triangle when you know 2 sides and the angle in between them. So we don't know 2 sides. We don't know this one. Well, we do, but we've got to think that we don't. But we do have the area. Let's use that formula. And that is area equals half multiplied by A multiplied by B multiplied by sine C. Again, we're using a little bit of trigonometry. We need to go ahead and label our triangle now. And when I say label our triangle, we're going to label the vertices, the corners, and we're going to label the sides. And whenever we label a triangle, the vertices we always do in capital letters. And we're going to go A, B, and C. If we start with the vertices C, because this is the angle, that's that one there. So this is going to be side C. And therefore this is little c, and then this one at the top, that can be A, and therefore this is side A, and this will be B, capital B, and therefore this is lowercase b. You can see we have our A, B is our unknown, that's our x. We'll use B though while we're working out the formula, and C is going to be this one. Let's put the numbers in. 27.7 for the area equals a half multiplied by A is 10 multiplied by B multiplied by sine 47 degrees. We can go ahead and evaluate some of this. 27.7 equals half of 10 is 5, B sine 47, and then let's divide by 5 sine 47. Make a note here what we're doing. We have 27.7 all over 5 times. Now I don't tend to write multiplication sign, I just use a bracket. And let's see what that comes out at. Hopefully it should come out 7.57, wasn't it, that we wanted? Do you remember? 7.57 centimetres. Let's see if we get the same thing. 27.7 divided by 5 multiplied by sine 47. Close the bracket, come out of that. And there it is, 7.57. Perfect. And I would go ahead and write x equals 7.57 centimetres, and that would get you your final mark. And there we have it, 2 methods, both using area of a triangle formula. Let me know if you find another one. I hope you found the video helpful. If you do, go ahead and hit the subscribe. That would be great. Thank you. That would really help the channel. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.